Good morning, YouTube. This morning we're on San Clemente Island. We're going to fly over to San Nicolas Island, KNSI Airport. I intend to do an RNAV GPS landing for runway 30. I'm thinking of doing the waypoint. I think it's 11. Let me double check on that. The waypoint is 110.2. But if it's another military island, and it very well may be, I did not research this island whatsoever. But it may be a military island, in which case the waypoint may not work. But the island is visible from here, so we shouldn't have any trouble getting to it, even without the waypoint. But the intent is to use the waypoint if it's available. So 110.2 for the waypoint. We'll go ahead and program it first just to see. And it's not picking up anything there. So we won't be able to use that to navigate to the island. Let me clear my flight plan, my former flight plan, and input a new one. Alright, KNUC is where we're at. And we're flying to KNSI. Alright, and with that being in place, I'm going to go ahead and select the approach and have it ready. I'm not going to activate it, I'll just load it. Let's try the ILS 30. Let's just see what happens with that. Many times I pick the one that says GPS, but this morning I think I'll pick ILS 30Y. And then I'm just going to pick Karam, the very first initial airfix available to us. I don't know how far out that will take us or what it will do, but that's what we'll do. Alright, so now that's in place. I'm only going to fly visually to the island. I'm not going to follow the GPS, or at least that's not my intent. Alright, and I believe I'm still in the library that I was using yesterday, which is the flipped Snack Air library. Alright, and very first thing we're going to do this morning, before I even step outside the airplane, to check the rudders, the yaw, the ailerons, and the flaps, is magnetic north. Let's see. Roughly right there. Okay. Get the heading bug set up for the actual landing. tree. I thought it was a helicopter. I did see one floating around earlier, hovering around. I was gonna do a helicopter flight this morning, but I didn't know which position I needed to have my throttle in, and I also didn't know how to manually start it, and so I was moving my throttle trying to figure out, do I need to have it in this position or in this position, and in so doing the aircraft lifted off and crashed. And then I was thinking, you know, I just need more practice with this. I'm not going to try to live stream a helicopter flight without even knowing which direction my throttle needs to be. And now, in the old days when I was flying helicopters, not in real life, just in flight simulator, but in the old days, you know, they typically reversed the throttle. So I anticipated that the throttle needed to be in the opposite position of the Cessna upon landing, you know, so fully forward as opposed to fully back. And I put it in fully forward, and then I did an auto start on the aircraft, and the engines died. So then I thought, okay, well, is it the mixture or is it the throttle position? So I adjusted the mixture and the throttle, and then shortly after that I tried to do an auto start again, and it was a disaster. So rather than trying to live stream disasters, I'm going to need to practice a little bit till I feel comfortable with the helicopter enough to be able to fly it around on YouTube. But it was my intent to actually try to fly it without actually manually starting it. And then I was just going to learn how to manually start it after the fact. But I was going to try to fly that helicopter over to San Nicolas this morning. So that flight lasted all of 2 or 3 minutes. So I deleted it. I did live stream it. Disaster, failure, but it was, since it was only a minute or two, and I just deleted it. What I missed too is the Jet Ranger from, well, I had X-Plane 8 and 9, and I used to use the Jet Ranger in those versions, and I liked the Jet Ranger, and now you don't have it. And I also like the Sea King. I got really good with the Sea King, and it's a big helicopter. It's old, but I loved flying the Sea King, and I'm kind of wondering if I install my older versions of 8 and 9, whether or not I can grab the Sea King and the Jet Ranger out of the aircraft directory and then maybe fly them in X-Plane 11. So I'm going to look into that. Oh, I'd love to be able to fly the Sea King again. I think I liked the Sea King because it handled really well for a helicopter as big as it was. And maybe that's why it handled so well, because it was so big, you know. I'm turning particularly so we can see that American airline coming in there. But I liked the Jet Ranger too because it was lighter, and for me the Jet Ranger was mostly what I trained on. Now I wouldn't say that I became an expert at flying a helicopter in the flight simulator, but I became proficient enough where I could pretty much land where I wanted to land. I don't remember trying to land on oil rigs or even on a, because it's been so long ago, or even if I tried landing on a aircraft carrier or not, or even if those, I don't even know if those were options back in versions 8 and 9. Maybe they were, but it's been so long ago. But I would take off from one helipad and then go land on another helipad, you know, and I could do it without too much issue. And I would just do it over and over and over for practice. So I'm thinking it shouldn't take me too long to relearn how to fly with a helicopter. And I was using rudder pedals back then, which is exactly why I have these Logitech rudder pedals that I'm using for when I was doing those helicopter flights. I'm going to say 10 or 15 years ago. It's been a while. At least 10 years. Landing and taxi can come off, so I'll turn those off. Graphics here a little off, uneven. So I thought that's the island we'd be flying to, but what's probably happening is we're probably flying out to the initial airfix. Either that or there is some other island out there. Let me just have a look. But I was trying to fly to the closest island. Ooh. Oh, I thought that was smoke out there on the water. I thought an oil rig was on fire, and I was thinking, let's go look at that. But it's a smudge on my window. Starting to trim the aircraft so that I can level out and release some of the pressure on the yoke here. So I think I will fly the GPS this morning. It says it's a distance of 44 miles. That seems like it's way out. So there must be another island over there. Set that to GPS. Nav is on. We'll do an altitude hold. What I'd like to do is zoom out. Just zoom out, not in. And have an idea, get an idea of where we're going. Now we're flying straight to it. So whatever island is over there, that I thought was the closer island, is not where we're flying to. Alright, 2,500 RPMs. I can hear the airplane engines a little. Seem like they're just revving up too much. I have not made any further adjustments to the library, so what we were looking at yesterday is exactly what's available for us to see today. So that might be mainland over there. It might not even be an island. I'll have to look at Sky Vector and see. No, that is an island. That is, it is closer to us. It's Santa Catalina Island. And we'll be flying to that one next. I mentioned yesterday there are 3 islands, and San Clemente was just one. There were 2 more left to visit. So we're going to the farthest of the 2, and then we'll fly back to Santa Catalina Island from. San Nicolas. San Clemente is easy for me to remember. I keep forgetting San Nicolas. And Santa Catalina should be alright for me to remember. San Nicolas. I'll just have to think Christmas. So I am beginning to see the island. It's way out there, and I'm just seeing a small bit of it. I don't know if you can see that on YouTube. Okay, what is going on? Oh, I know what it is. Sorry, I was pressing some of my quick view keys and they weren't working, but I forgot that if I click on another window, see, I have a monitor to the left and to the right of this. I've got the live streaming software on the left, and then I also have a web browser on the right. And if I click on either of those while I'm flying, no longer accepts the inputs from like my keyboard and even from my throttle and rudder and yaw for some reason. I have to be clicked on the main window. I have to have X-Plane 11 in the foreground in order for all of that to work. Actually, I think the rudder pedals still work for some reason, but my yoke and the keyboard does not. So there have been instances where I've, done certain things or landed and then, clicked on another window. And then I'm trying to steer, and I can't steer. So I run into things or run off the runway or just try to remember not to do that. So I'm looking at magnetic north now, and I'm looking at my heading indicator, and it looks pretty good. I mean, half a degree maybe if it's off, but I'm not going to mess with it. I was also thinking of just flying without setting it to magnetic north. I would have to do the heading bug in weird locations, but it would be still doable so long as I'm looking at the GPS to determine whether or not I'm heading to the magenta line or not. I think best practice is to set it to magnetic north to make it less confusing. So I guess what I'm saying there is that I've had the frame of mind of flying confusing just to do it. I did a relatively short video yesterday demonstrating how I flipped the cockpit file colors, and I put it out on YouTube if y'all are interested in knowing how I did. Now I didn't do any changes yet. I didn't create a video for how to change the wings and the fuselage, but the principle is just the same. So if you look at the changing or modifying the cockpit using the GIMP, which is a free software application that you can download from the web, you can change the cockpit colors. You can just as easily go and modify the wings and the fuselage as well. just having a look out there, trying to see whether or not there's any ships or anything around. Anything worth flying off to and looking at. There's a small island over there. That's kind of cool. That might be something we can look at when we're flying from San Nicolas to Santa Catalina over here. So I'm thinking once we do our direct tube flight from the island that's over here to that one, we'll might have to stop there and have a short look, just do a slow flyby. No ships. Wow. Clear skies, clear ocean. Yeah. Sometimes I forget when I'm outside, it's a lot more challenging to be able to hear my voice. But what I was saying is, when we fly from San Nicolas to Santa Catalina, there's a little island over here, which I don't know if we can see it out the window. Let me move around a little bit. There's a little island right here, I think, that we'll do a slow flyby or have a look at once we fly from San Nicolas to Santa Catalina. And I didn't see any ships out there, which is a little bit of a disappointment, or oil rigs even, something, you know, just something. But there's nothing out there. Water. That little island was the only thing of interest. I'm thinking about the autopilot right now and the RNAV landing. And in a couple of instances, I've actually had to hit the altitude button in order to intercept the glide slope. And in 2 instances, I have not had to hit the altitude button for the glide slope. And I'm trying to wonder why that is. I'm trying to understand why that is. So my intent this morning is, once I'm established on the localizer, I'm going to hit the approach button and hope that the altitude button automatically auto-initiates the glide slope. But if it doesn't, I might watch it for a few minutes and see if maybe once I intercept it a little bit closer, if it auto initializes, or if maybe I'm just clicking the altitude button a little early. So trying to understand it so that there is no misunderstanding. Really want to know. Yeah, I haven't even tried to fix that button yet, but I will. I'm just not ready to do it yet. That button, the way that it is, actually looks a lot more like what I'm looking at on my yoke right now. I have a CH Eclipse yoke, and my hat button and my autopilot, well, the button that I'm using to engage and disengage autopilot is gray, not red at all. And though the buttons themselves are gray, the portions around it are black. Whereas this is all gray, and this is supposed to be a black button, this is supposed to be a black button, and that's supposed to be a red button. And this portion is supposed to say, or be black, and I think it says up, down, or somewhere on there it says up, down, has a little arrow on it. Right now it kind of looks ugly, but it doesn't really work anyways, I don't think. Or maybe it does. Maybe you can press that button and disengage the autopilot. Yeah, you can. So I'm selecting nav again and altitude hold. Now this island looks a lot smaller than San Clemente Island. You suppose San Nicolas Island is where Santa really is, and not, maybe he's not at the North Pole, maybe he's just off the coast of San Diego, California. You know, warmer climate, or maybe it's San Nicolas because that's where Santa goes to take his vacations. I mean, doesn't that seem appropriate? An island that he could go to, that way, you know, he's not encumbered by people. People don't have to recognize him or see him or anything. If he hung out on that island when he's not at the North Pole. So we might be landing at the same runway that the reindeer landed at. We're doing a flight plan. I'm going to go ahead and select the approach. Activate the approach, rather. I've already selected it. let's see, instead of flying to Karoon, let's fly to the next waypoint. Yeah. And that will cut some of the time off since it's taking us back a little bit and then having to come back this way. We'll fly direct to that, do a hard right, and then we'll be lined up for the landing. Let me see that again. Flight plan. I'm trying to see if there's a hold in there. I don't know what this D-5 is. So D-5 must be a hold. What I can do is once I get to EDADE, I'll skip over to Tamway or Tamay, and initiate that. We'll bypass the hold. Actually, I could just fly to Tamay. Let's do that. Let's just fly to Tamay. Bypass the hold altogether. And from Tamay, we go to Hyler and then runway 30. So that'll be better. Alright, let me move the heading bug here. I want to get it going. That didn't change a thing. What concerns me is that it's not flying me to Tamay, so I'm going to disengage the autopilot and fly over there manually. I'm going to reduce speed a little bit, not too much, maybe 100 knots. Hyler is probably the initial air fix when this will become active, but we'll see. I don't know what altitude I'm supposed to be at, so I'm thinking I'll descend to about 2,000 feet. Let's see, I've got Sky Vector pulled up. I can look. Looks like 3,000 feet. So we'll just do an altitude hold here. Well, at Hyler it's 2,100 feet. I'm just going to go ahead and go to 2,000. I don't know what the altimeter is supposed to be set at, and I don't know whether or not we're off by a couple hundred feet or not. So I'm going to go to 2,000, and we can intercept the glide slope from underneath it. That's not an issue. Turn the landing and taxi lights back on. We look lined up with the runway pretty good. Without actually zooming in, it looks good. Maybe we're off a little bit, but not enough. Getting a little under 100 knots, so I'm going to give it a little more power here. And I'm paying particularly close attention to VOR1 to see when we're established on a localizer, so I'll know to hit the approach button. I mean, I may be able to hit approach now, but I was going to hit it once we're on the localizer. But we can do it now and just see what happens. The thing is, to me, hitting it now, there's nothing there. There's no reason to, you know, like once you're established on the localizer, then there's reason to actually press the button. And this one's ILS, so you know what? I have a feeling it's not going to automatically program the nav radio that I need to do the ILS landing, so I'll probably need to do this on my own. I'm going to disengage the autopilot. start deploying some flaps. I'm going to nose down with anticipation that it's going to nose up on me. See, if I'm going to do an ILS landing, it seems to me, and I could be wrong. Now with the G1000, I think it does pre-program that information in for me, but I don't know about the G530. So it seems to me I would need to have my nav radio set for the ILS runway. And I didn't look that up in advance. And as you can see, we have hit and bypassed Hyler, and I'm still not on the localizer. We should be guided in by now if we were doing a GPS landing as opposed to an ILS GPS landing. If we were doing an RNAV landing versus a GPS or ILS, rather. So the localizer is 109.7. I want to mess with that. So it did program that. 109.7, but we're not picking it up. So like the VOR station, the waypoint, it's like the ILS is not functioning for us either. Because we should be seeing it on, oh wait, maybe I need to. I wonder if that would do it. I think not. I'm going to take control and make sure we don't die. We're about to stall. I'm giving it more power. I feel like I'm fighting a bit of a headwind here. I'm giving this aircraft a lot of power, and we're not even coming down that fast. And we're at what? 45, 46, 47. Well, ground speed says we're at 46 knots. Now I'm feeling some turbulence. That's probably just because we're coming over this island and there is some winds. I am doing real weather. I'm giving this thing a lot of power. I feel like we're going to stall here in a second. What I have not tried doing is adjusting the mixture while I'm trying to land. Definitely a lot of headwind there. That was that landing just did not feel right in comparison to some that I've done. I'm gonna head closer to the tower and park up there. Maybe I need to exit here and taxi up that way. No, that's not a... Alright, I'm cutting across the dirt here just because. We'll head towards the waypoint that doesn't work. Oh, and there we. If I just given myself a little bit more time, I could have taxied up there instead of going across the dirt. But I think everything will be all right. Killing the engines. Brakes. All right, let's do a replay. That's where I experienced some turbulence. It's just like it just nosed up and then went back forward real quick. That wasn't me making any adjustments on the yoke or anything. I was just trying to glide it in. All right, YouTube. Thank you for joining me this morning. Have a good day.